All right, so I'm going to start a video now. I have to do a video really quick because I have just come through one of the most disastrously bad experiences with a software package or an installer in the last 10 years. And I am going to try to keep this as tame as I can. It will definitely be the word fuck at least 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 times because of what they did. And I'll show you the Twitter feed to get you started on it. The bottom line, so what is Anaconda? Anaconda is this big enterprisey, semi-open source, but not really thing that has taken over the enterprise world, apparently. And it's apparently got this thing that makes it easy to install. Machine learning people love it. Data science people love it. And since I'm doing machine learning infrastructure support, this has been recommended to me so I can set up Jupyter Hub for doing notebooks, which is all stuff that's new to me. But so apparently everybody's using this piece of shit software, and I cannot overstate what shit this is. It might be good for doing the Jupyter. I mean, I have a feeling that what's actually good is the Jupyter Hub stuff and to be able to exchange it. But I have seen so many indicators that this engineering team and this applications development team has no fucking clue what they're doing that I would never ever let this software near my enterprise. And if you're as a decision maker right now and you're trying to decide whether you should deploy Anaconda for your whole enterprise and force this technology forever into your ecosystem, because that's the kind of technology it is. It champions itself as a package manager, which means once you get hooked on it, you have to have it for all time. It's like everybody's going to be exchanging. They're all going to know it. They're going to use it. And apparently it's got a big fucking foothold already, which is horrible. Every single person I've run into who's been forced to use this thing says that it's not just the beginning experience, which I'm about to show you, but it's also all of the stuff that comes after. As they get down into it deeper and deeper, they keep uncovering layers of shit that are based on really horrible applications development design principles. I'm going to start you with a few things that made it completely unusable for me from the very first second. The first thing is I had to write my own fucking installer script because theirs sucks. I mean, if you go to the thing and you go to I can't even find it right now, but their system, they don't have, maybe if you're on Windows or Mac, they do, but if you're on Linux, they tell you to Linux, I'm going to go find it for you. So the Linux install Anaconda. And I just want to, even if you don't think this relates to you, if you are writing installation packages for people or you're bundling software for distribution, pay attention, because I don't think there's a better example of how to do it wrong than the Anaconda project. So go here, installation on Linux. This is their documentation. So they say using Anaconda in a commercial setting, you may need to purchase a license, by the way. So I actually went out and read that, and I was not using this for a commercial setting. I was actually using this to just sample some software, but ultimately could have been contributed as a commercial. So the very first thing you need to look here is that Anaconda is not open source software. At the very best, it's bait and switch software, which gets you to use it in the private personal edition, and then does this. And you're going to see during the installer process that they spent gobs and gobs of money and attention on cover your ass licensing issues, and they could have spent that time and energy making a clean install that doesn't fuck with your system. And I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, so first of all, look at all these terms and stuff here, and then you get to the prerequisites. So they could have just made a package and had you install the package and associate with it. You know what the reason they didn't do that? I'm pretty sure the reason that they didn't do that is because that would construe it as open source, and this is not open source software. Don't make any mistake here. This is not open source software. There's somebody who might tell you it is. It's not. And there's no lawyer on planet Earth that would tell you that this is open source. So if you're using this in any way or shape or form related to an enterprise or for a customer, you need to be sure of that. So then I went through and I said, okay, well, I got to have all these prerequisites. Okay. So of course, the first thing I did was, well, if I'm going to do that, I might as well write a script for this. And I still have the script around. I'm not throwing it away. It took 20 minutes to write it. So install Anaconda. This is the script that I wrote. Here, I'll go ahead and give you one. Install Anaconda. I'm not saying you should, but maybe you can read some things in there. There was a few things that I learned when I was reading through that, writing the script. So I don't consider that time lost. But here we go. So I put a big old disclaimer. This will fuck up your bashrc and your prompt and who knows what else. The Anaconda developers are fucking idiots, and I stand by that statement. If they have allowed this to get this far, then the rest of the shit inside of it, who knows what it's doing. I hate Anaconda and needed to decide this. I only kept this installer script that I wrote because I had to write it, and after running it, realized that what a piece of steaming shit Anaconda is. I was really mad when I wrote this. I'll never use it unless forced, and neither should you. So, okay, let me show you what I had to do. So I wrote a script that installed all the dependencies and did dev null. So there's the first step, right? They could have done that in their installer and they didn't. Second step, installation. In your browsers, download the installer. Okay, well, I'm going to click on the installer. Your data science kit. Where's the installer? I don't see it. I don't see it. Do you see it? See, if you're in your browser, download the Anaconda installer for Linux. Okay, let's find it. Okay, Anaconda installer for Linux. Can't even find it. Open source my ass. Install Anaconda. Okay, well, I guess that's it. Okay, installer for Linux. Oh, hey, here we go. Installer for Linux. Save the file. What is the file? The file is a fucking shell script. They could have had you like SSH, curl it down or something, but they had to go through all that shit just to get to a shell script. So I'm clicking on cancel there. You can watch the tutorial on how to fuck over your system with Anaconda. So then I can't even get back to the page I was on now. Remember, now I have to click back and back. I mean, seriously, it's a total cacophony of idiocy. Yeah. Okay. So it just gets worse. So recommended, verify your data integrity with a SHA. You know what they could have done? They could have wrote a script that does that, but they didn't. So they're assuming that you know how to do this. They say run SHA path file name. They didn't tell you what the path file name is. They say the path to the file name is in the downloads. They could have, they knew to tell you to put the downloads here, but they didn't know to put the downloads right there. So they're just assuming you know how to do all this thing. And thank God, if you're a Linux person, you should know that. So of course I'm a good person. I'm going to go ahead and do this. And I had to go pick out which version of the Python checksum file I wanted. So I said, okay, I'm going to go to 64-bit Windows and Py3. Oh my God, which one of these is it? I have to go find the SHA for my specific software. Oh shit, I clicked on the wrong thing. Let's go back and go to Linux. Oh, here we go. Py3 Linux 64-bit. Okay. How do I even know which one this is? Well, yeah, let's look at my downloads file again and see where that is. Look at my downloads. Didn't have it there. I didn't download it, thank God. I happen to have it someplace else. So, of course, I went ahead and wrote a script for all this because it's like, but most beginners aren't going to do that. And so, where did I do that? It's Linux 686. So I went and there's the thing, and then I created a temp directory. I installed the dependencies. I went forward and I downloaded. So I ran curl and just downloaded the shell script once I recognized that it didn't need to go into my downloads folder and I could just use curl, which is what every fucking other thing does. Every other system that assumes you know curl if you're going to do the installation, and they could have wrote that there, but they didn't. They decided to like send you down some other thing. And so then we're going down here. You're finally getting this validation. I went ahead and wrote a script for that too. I wrote a little script for this. And it's, usually when I complain about a thing, if you're watching this Anaconda, and God help you if you are, you know what? This is how you do it. Why don't you go download my free script now and add it to your shitty application, because no one else is ever going to need it, because I'm going to convince them not to use it ever again. So it's not even, so they do the checksums. I got the checksum comparisons. I check if it failed or not. Then we run the installer. I actually ran the script, bash script. They don't have you look at the script at all. It's 540 lines. So you have no idea what's in there. I didn't. And when you run it, so then I ran the script, right? And I'm actually gonna run this installer again, and because I want you to see how badly this fucks you up. So I'm running the installer here, running my script, and so let me make sure I have everything here. So guy says, or you can go down here for 2.7, because yeah, if you're using Python 2.7, including the bash command regardless of whether you are using the bash shell. So yeah, make sure you have bash there because you don't want to do something wrong. Note, if you didn't, the installer prompts, in order to continue the installation, please review the license agreement. I'm going to show you. Scroll down to the bottom of the license agreement to say yes. The installer prompts you to click on accept and control C to cancellation install. It tries to put it someplace. So this is another thing. So it tries to put it in an ancient place. We're going to get to that. It's like the people who wrote Anaconda had no idea what the Open Desktop project is, even though it's been around for more than 7 years. Everybody else knows about this. The installer prompts, do you wish to initialize running conda init? We recommend yes. Of course, I said yes on that. If you say no, then it won't modify your shell scripts. So this note I did not read right there. I'll give that to you because I ran the installer and I didn't see a lot of this stuff. But so conda init actually messes with your shell script. The installer finishes and displays, thank you for using Anaconda. It doesn't tell you what it did to your shell scripts. It just fucks it over. It says the installer provides a link to install PyCharm if you want. Close and open your terminal window over again, which is the shittiest, dumbest way to do this. You could just do exec bash and you would get the same exact thing, but they don't know that, so they don't tell you to do that. They control whether or not the shell session is your environment. Conda config, blah blah blah. Verify your installation. Not once does it say what it's going to do to your shell scripts. So what does it end up doing? This is what I ended up with. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to run it just like most of you would. Most of you wouldn't have even read all those steps and that would have been on us. But still, look at what happens. So Anaconda and type the password. I'm not going to do that. It needs sudo to do the install, which is, I don't even know why it needs. I guess it's for the password stuff. So we'll go ahead and put that down. All right. Okay, give me a second here. All right. So right now it's doing the checksum. The checksum takes the longest amount of time. It's looking for the checksum, and then it passed the checksum, and now it's saying, welcome to Anaconda. Press enter to install to continue. Okay, so here's the license, which you have to read, which, by the way, is not a free license. This is not a free license. It's not a patch or something. This is an executive-ish corporate license. And you can read it yourself, obviously. Intel Math Kernel Library. It's got kudu stuff in it. It's got all kinds of stuff in it. And then at the end, you hit Control C or B. They say Control C, but I know that you can quit this with Q. So do you accept the license terms? Yes. All right. So... not once did it say it's going to fuck. Now, they ask about that later. It said this will be installed into this location. So I'm like, when I first looked at this, I was like, why can't they put it in .local something? So everything that's around now knows to put stuff in .local, not to put stuff in your like base home directory. But we're going to accept this default just because. So we accept it. It puts the prefix in, it unpacks the payload, and it's going to do its thing. Now, so one of the things that bothers me too about this is that every other application a Linux application that's going to mess with your bashrc, it doesn't actually change your bashrc. It tells you the line to add to your bashrc so that you can eval the code that's needed. This is what Docker does. It's what kubecontrol does. It's what everything. And it's annoying that you have to eval all that stuff. That's a different issue. It's why I made command box to get around that. But still, this is a big annoying thing to have to go through. Still unpacking the payload. I mean, it takes a long time because it downloads what feels like an entire subsystem. There's all the stuff it installs. Look at all those packages it puts in there. And you have to pay $14.95 a month to even use the thing in order to keep up to date, right? So do you wish the installer to initialize Anaconda? So I said, fine, but it doesn't tell me there. On the web page, it does tell you. There's a little note that it says, hey, this is going to mess with your bashrc files. But if you've gone to the step where it starts the installer, you're no longer reading the steps anymore. And now you're going through this and now you're reading about it. Like, I don't know. So you push yes. If you're lucky, you would have caught the note. I didn't. So you go and you click the note here and it says, fine, here you go. And scrolls it off the screen. I mean, they were happy to send everything to the pager before so I could read it, but I can't read any of this. So it's a good thing I have tmux because I can go back and read all the stuff that they actually did. So no change to all of this stuff that installed. For changes detected, you reopen your current shell. Thanks for installing Anaconda. Go use PyCharm because you probably do. But then here's what happens. So now when you start opening all your stuff, look what they did. They actually had the gall to fuck with your prompt. The most holy thing anybody ever sets up on their own system, beyond their favorite distro and terminal and window manager, the number one most holy thing that any Linux user has is their prompt. And for some reason, Anaconda felt like it was totally okay for them to mess with your prompt. I can't tell you how clueless that is. That is like such a clueless overreach on their part to not tell you anything about what's going to change. Just say, well, we're going to fuck with your bashrc, but we're not going to tell you how. You're just going to all of a sudden see this fancy new prompt. Not to mention this. Now, so thank God I had Git. So this is a big argument for having GitHub. Nobody touches your, exactly. It's sacred. It's like a sacred thing. How dare you touch my PS1, right? I mean, you would, so unless you're actively doing it yourself and saying, hey, you can add this thing like GitHub does. They say, hey, you can add this, or Git says, hey, you can add this to your prompt if you want to. But they actually fucked with it. Not only that, but then I'm like, well, what else have they done to my system? And thank God I had a .files repo. Because I have a .files repo, I can go back to my .files and I can say git diff to say, what the fuck? Like, what have you changed here? So this is something that I changed. That's a change that's my own. That's not a problem. And I'm looking through this and I'm like, oh my God, what is this? So they decided to just, because I authorized init, that conda initialize is going to write all of this random shit into my bashrc because I accepted it. Now, every beginner on planet Earth is going to accept it. And who is going to know how messed up it's going to get? It's running all of this stuff from Anaconda 3. And by the way, so I'm going to actually show you how to undo this if you happen to do this to yourself. So if you happen to do this to yourself, the answer is to make sure that your bashrc is a symbolic link. Okay. So my bashrc is a symbolic link that points to my .files. Therefore, any changes I make get saved when I save them on Git. This is the thing you should probably do if you care about your prompt and your bashrc, which you probably do. And I have a little script that does that. You can look at that if you want. But here's how you restore it. So we do a git checkout, which I have alias. That's why I can't remember it. Git checkout bashrc. Now what that does is it throws out any changes to the bashrc. And now if I start a new tmux, it's gone. Thank God. What's not gone, however, is the shit it put in my home directory. So inside of here is Anaconda. And this just made us laugh for like 20 minutes. we were going through, it's like, what was it? So who said it? Somebody said, wait, there's no /proc. It's like an insider Linux joke, but it's relevant because there's just so much shit in here. It's like all of these directories. It's like they have their own bin, they have their own Etsy, their own man pages. They have everything all by themselves. And if you want to participate in the Anaconda proprietary commercial ecosystem, you have to operate from Anaconda 3, and you have to be okay with them doing whatever the fuck they want to your system, as long as you accept it by saying, yes, I want to init, or whatever else they want to do. I cannot tell you how many levels of wrong this is. On so many levels, this entire project is just shown over what. Did you see how well that I had to go through the license to get it? Says, are you sure you read the whole license? Just think for a second if they had spent that much time describing the changes they were going to make to my bashrc before they made them, describing the fact that they were going to fuck with my PS1. They didn't tell me anything about that, but they made damn sure to tell me about the license. They spent extra amount of time to make sure that I went through and I okayed it and everything. But they didn't spend 2 seconds telling me how they were going to fuck my system over. Anaconda, bye-bye. Nobody wants you. Nobody needs you. Use pip or whatever, containers or anything else. Don't use Anaconda. Help this company go bankrupt. Help them die the death they deserve. Bye bye.